pull a dying plant out of its pot sometime. Really look at what is happening at the root, and remember this image, because in a moment, a $2 bottle is going to fix it. Brown mush where there should be white. A smell that means something in that soil has already won. The leaves are curling, the stems are soft at the base. You have tried everything on that shelf, the sprays, the powders, the $15 bottles with the warning labels, and the plant is still dying. Here is what none of those bottles told you. Your plant is already producing the thing that could save it. Inside every root, every cell, right now, it is generating hydrogen peroxide, a molecular alarm that switches on its immune system, fires at invading fungi, and attacks the exact pathogens closing in on it. The bottle that does the same thing costs $2. It's the same brown bottle that's been in the medicine cabinet since before you can remember. And there are 9 specific ways to use it, for the roots, for the leaves, for the soil itself, that no label will ever tell you. By the end of this, you'll know exactly which of these 9 fixes matches the problem in front of you. In 1818, a French chemist named Louis-Jacques Thénard first synthesized it in a Paris laboratory and named it eau oxygénée, oxygenated water. By 1863, it had been detected in rainwater falling on ordinary fields. By 1977, the EPA had quietly registered it as an active ingredient in pesticide products cleared for use on plants. A registration still in force today, covering 164 commercially sold products. Most home gardeners have never heard any of that. It breaks down into nothing but water and oxygen, and what it does to the specific organisms destroying a plant's root system has never once appeared on any of those shelves. This is where what the label left out gets found. It starts with the science. By 2016, researchers publishing in Frontiers in Plant Science had mapped exactly how the defense mechanism works at the cellular level. When a plant detects a pathogen, it does not wait. It floods the infected zone with oxidative pressure the invader cannot survive. The same process, triggered from the outside by a dilute application, produces the same response. The numbers behind that are specific. In a controlled greenhouse trial on cucumbers, a spray of 1 tablespoon per gallon, applied 3 times over 2 weeks, cut powdery mildew coverage from over 90% of the leaf surface down to around 11%. That is 1 study, 1 crop, 1 controlled environment. Results will vary with humidity, plant species, and timing. At Aswan University, researchers in the plant pathology department found that a 2% solution completely inhibited Rhizoctonia solani, Pythium, and Fusarium solani on time, 3 of the water molds most responsible for the brown mush at the root that no spray on the garden center shelf was ever formulated to reach. In 2022, a USDA study published in Frontiers in Plant Science found that soaking sugar beet seeds in a dilute hydrogen peroxide solution improved germination by more than 70% compared to plain water. The mechanism? It degrades the dormancy hormone and softens the seed coat. The same hormone and the same tough coat found on the seeds gardeners struggle with most: morning glory, sweet pea, nasturtium. Other research found the opposite effect in lettuce. Germination decreased. This does not work the same way for every seed. The global fungicide market was valued at $17 billion in 2024. The companies holding the largest share of it, BASF, Bayer, Syngenta, Corteva, spend more on research and marketing in a single quarter than most home gardeners will spend on their entire garden in a lifetime. The active ingredient in 164 EPA-registered pesticide products is hydrogen peroxide. A 32-ounce bottle of 3% hydrogen peroxide at the dollar store costs $1. A comparable branded garden fungicide costs $12 to $18 for the same volume. The $1 version cannot be patented. That is not a conspiracy. It is a margin calculation. No company the size of BASF has a business reason to tell you that. Commercial greenhouses know this. They use hydrogen peroxide at scale, combined with other compounds to boost efficacy and justify the price. The home gardener was simply never the target market. So, why has none of this ever appeared on the back of a fungicide label? It has not appeared on any label because there is no profit in telling you, but the 9 applications are real, and they fall into 3 groups: protecting a plant before trouble starts, treating a problem that has already shown up, and reviving one that looks close to gone. Protect. Before anything goes into the ground, tools and pots carry last season's spores forward, 3% straight from the bottle. No dilution needed, wiped onto blades and pot surfaces, left for 30 seconds, then rinsed. That one step is the difference between starting clean and starting infected. Hard-coated seeds, morning glory, sweet pea, nasturtium, parsley, respond to a 30-minute soak in 1 teaspoon per cup of water. The same treatment that breaks dormancy in those seeds suppresses germination in lettuce, so it is not a blanket fix. For the seeds it works on, it can mean the difference between an empty cell in the tray and a seedling that comes up on schedule. And for seedlings already up, a light mist of 1 tablespoon per 2 cups of water across the surface of the tray, applied after watering, oxidizes surface mold before it spreads overnight. Skip it, and a healthy-looking tray can be pinched and collapsed by morning. Treat. When powdery mildew shows up, that pale dust creeping across the leaves, 1 tablespoon per gallon, sprayed in the early morning before the sun hits, 3 times over 2 weeks. The study behind the 90 to 11% result used a weaker concentration than most blogs recommend. So, ER on the lower side and give it time. The difference it can make. A leaf that keeps photosynthesizing, instead of one that shuts down. If the soil around a pot is alive with tiny black flies, fungus gnats, Cornell Cooperative Extension's recommendation is 1 part hydrogen peroxide to 4 parts water, drenched into the top 2 inches where the larvae live. 1 application kills on contact. Repeat after 7 days if they return. That is the difference between a plant quietly losing root hairs and one that keeps them. Aphids and spider mites are harder to fully clear because most sprays miss the eggs. A foliar spray of 1 part to 4 parts water, applied in the early morning, reaches that egg stage, the generation that would otherwise hatch next week, regardless of what was sprayed today. Revive. For a plant already showing the brown mush at the root, pour 1 part hydrogen peroxide to 2 or 3 parts water directly into the soil at the base. The fizzing means it is working. Repeat every 3 days until the soil stops smelling of rot. This treats the symptom, not the cause. The watering habit still has to change, or the same plant will be back here in a month. When soil is simply waterlogged and anaerobic but rot has not set in yet, 1 tablespoon per cup of water floods the root zone with oxygen. The effect is short-lived. Hydrogen peroxide degrades within hours, but it can buy a root system the time it needs while drainage gets fixed. Not a substitute for better drainage, an emergency measure. And for cuttings sitting in water or a propagation tray, a dip in 1 teaspoon per quart of water before placing them in rooting medium reduces the bacterial load on the cut surface, without damaging the tissue itself. The difference between a cutting that roots and one that rots before it gets the chance. 2 rules apply across all 9. First, morning or evening only, never in full midday sun. Second, hydrogen peroxide does not distinguish between the fungus closing in on a root and the beneficial bacteria keeping healthy soil alive. It kills both. Use it as a targeted treatment, not a routine one. Outdoor beds especially, use it sparingly. Wait 7 days after any application before adding compost tea, mycorrhizal inoculants, or any beneficial soil product. And one warning that cannot be skipped. The 35% food-grade version causes serious chemical burns. Never use it undiluted. Never mix hydrogen peroxide with bleach or vinegar. Both combinations produce compounds far more dangerous than either ingredient alone.